Mangwana Nimwale Lepo Vukenjani Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning. This is your portal into Africa's potent stories, where we begin in Zimbabwe with the rollout of the long-acting HIV prevention drug lenacapavir before shifting to the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, and this is linked to Epstein investigations. We then report on the detention of Bellarmine Mugabe in South Africa after a Hyde Park shooting incident and Aliko Dangote's leadership restructuring involving his daughters. AGM videos of the week feature Blessed Mhlanga's Geneva summit remarks, Jeffrey Sachs at the AU summit, a Namibia report on Uganda by NMS journalist Phillipus Josef, and Professor Lovemore Madhuku criticizing Mnangagwa's term extension bid. Africa Good Morning can be watched on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA, and NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top story shortly.
Aitsa is 'n echt Namibiese inisiatief. Ons reis op die hartklop van Afrika en vertel stories van mense en hulle dorpe op verskeie platforms insluitende televisie en sosiale media. Dit is joune, syne, julle en ook almal van hulle aan die ander kant van ons grense sinne. En dit maak Aitsa 'n lekker ding. Kyk Aitsa maande om 18:30 op NTV, 102.com, as ook op Netwerk Media Hub en NTV Afrikaans se YouTube kanale. Volg ons op Facebook of besoek ons webwerf by NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA.
Let's get into the top stories. Zimbabwe's health authorities yesterday began administering the long-acting HIV prevention drug lenacapavir, positioning the Southern African nation among the first globally to introduce the intervention as it seeks to curb new infections. Health Minister Douglas Mombeshora said the program, funded by the US and the Global Fund, will initially target more than 46,000 high-risk individuals across 24 sites nationwide. He stated that Zimbabwe received its first batch earlier this month and that some early adopters were already injected, with the rollout set to proceed in phases. Lenacapavir, developed by Gilead Sciences, is delivered as a subcutaneous injection twice a year and is seen by officials as a way to overcome adherence challenges linked to daily oral pre-exposure prophylaxis pills. Zimbabwe has achieved the 95-95-95 treatment target set by UNAIDS, meaning most people living with HIV know their status, are on treatment, and have suppressed viral loads. Melody Dengu of Epworth said she received the jab and encouraged others to get injected. Zimbabwe has one of Africa's highest HIV burdens, though new infections declined over the past decade significantly. We move on. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, was arrested in Norfolk yesterday on suspicion of misconduct in public office, becoming the first member of the British royal family to be detained in modern times. The arrest is linked to police investigations into his dealings with late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Reports indicate that he allegedly sent confidential trade information to Epstein in 2010 while serving as Britain's special envoy for international trade. The allegation emerged from correspondence contained within millions of pages of documents released last month by the US Justice Department as part of the Epstein files. Assistant Chief Constable Oliver Wright said an investigation has now been opened following a thorough assessment. Police are also assessing information related to the possible trafficking of a young woman to have sex with the former prince in 2010. Officers searched two properties where he used to live. King Charles expressed concern but said the investigation has his full support and that the law must take its course. He will wait in a custody suite cell pending police interview for further investigation. From the Queen's child to Mugabe's, Bellarmine Mugabe, the youngest son of Robert Gabriel Mugabe and Grace Mugabe, has been arrested in South Africa on suspicion of attempted murder after a reported shooting at a property in the upmarket Johannesburg suburb of Hyde Park. He was taken into custody after a 23-year-old man believed to be a gardener was shot and injured. Police searching the house where Mugabe was found bullet cartridges but no firearm, according to officers. One other man was arrested alongside him as investigations continue. Police spokesperson Colonel Dimakato Nevulhului said the two suspects are expected to appear in court soon. Police have not officially named Bellarmine Mugabe as one of those arrested, but reporters at the scene saw and took the pictures that you can see on the screen now. The victim is in hospital in a critical condition after being shot once. Nevulhului said the suspects have not told police where the gun is and are not saying anything about it. Bellarmine Mugabe, 28, was seen at his father's funeral in 2019. Investigators continue their work at the property in Johannesburg. In our last top story, Aliko Dangote has appointed his daughters to senior leadership roles within the Dangote Group, which operates across 17 African countries in manufacturing, energy and infrastructure, as well as agriculture. Halima Aliko Dangote will lead the Dangote Family Office and international offices in Dubai while overseeing its development, governance framework, operating model, policies and organizational structure. She currently serves as Group Executive Director at Dangote Industries Limited and previously held executive roles at Dangote Flour Mills and Nascon. Fatima Aliko Dangote has been appointed Group Executive Director, Commercial Operations, Oil and Gas, overseeing energy businesses including the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals, Fertilizer and WAEP Upstream, while continuing to manage corporate communications, administration, facilities and group procurement. Maria Aliko Dangote becomes Group Executive Director, Commercial Operations, Cement and Foods, leading commercial strategy across cement and food operations and driving integration, market growth and operational excellence. The appointments place the daughters in key operational positions within the conglomerate's expanding business structure. Halima began her career as an analyst at KPMG and has over 13 years experience. The group pursues its Vision 2030. Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Shortly, we're going to be getting into the videos of the week packed with politics and insight. But after the weather. In a world where politicians promise the moon and deliver potholes, where democracy sometimes arrives in camouflage and ballots often look like formalities, one show dares to laugh with Africa, at Africa, and sometimes for Africa. This is Second Take, your weekly dose of political satire with an African soul and a global edge. From coups disguised as press briefings to ministers moonwalking past accountability, we serve the real news with sharper writing. Each week we bring you the TikTok of the week because sometimes the revolution is vertical, and the heartwarming moment of the week to remind us that not everything is burning. We also sit down with the bold, the brilliant, and the brave, voices that question power, stir thought, and spark laughter. Because when the headlines are wild, the leaders are louder, and the truth is lost in translation, we all need a second take. It's time to get into the Africa Good Morning videos of the week. Veteran Zimbabwean journalist Blessed Mhlanga delivered a sharp condemnation of the Zimbabwean government, and this was at the Geneva summit, accusing authorities of using the legal system as a tool to silence dissent and warning that the country is moving deeper into authoritarianism. Mhlanga told delegates that he spent 75 days in pre-trial detention in 2025 for allegedly broadcasting a speech he neither authored nor delivered, describing the experience as lawfare, repression executed through courts rather than overt violence.
I want to thank you very much for having me here, and I'm humbled. For 25 years, I've been reporting on stories in Zimbabwe that others dared not to touch. That has been my work. But it was disrupted last year when the Zimbabwean regime sent me to 75 days of horror, a hell in pre-trial detention, for another man's speech. A speech made at a press conference that was broadcast at a TV station I work for. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new face of repression in Zimbabwe, laced with sophistication. In the past, it was naked violence on the streets, abductions, and forced disappearances. This has changed. It is now violence committed through the legal system, what I call lawfare, violence by law. In February 2025, the regime arrested me and charged me with transmitting messages likely to incite violence, even though I had no involvement whatsoever in this alleged crime. I was denied bail three times, a violation of our constitution. The state deliberately misled the court, presenting redacted transcripts that were deliberately manipulated to support their allegations of violence and to keep me in prison without trial. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I sit in front of you, free but not free, without chains in my hands, but chains in my mind and pain in my heart. I was given bail. My passport was taken. Freedom to move or work taken away from me, and under bail conditions, crippling my finances. The regime punishes you through punishing your family. It hits your pockets to the extent that your children suffer. They know that you're strong, but they want to hurt those that you care about, so that you think twice before doing your work. Many, as the stories that have been told here, think Zimbabwe is turning the turn. It is becoming a democratic dispensation. I'm here to tell you that no, it has just become more sophisticated in its operation. Just yesterday, the government of Zimbabwe proposed new changes to the constitution. They want to increase the presidential term from 5 years to 7 and allow the president to appoint judges directly and an elected president appointing judges. For a president who promised to stick to the constitution and respect human rights, this attempt to extend terms, appoint judges without scrutiny, and steal voting rights from the people opens, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very dark door, which must scare the world, the UN, into action. Because when repression hides behind the law and hides behind sovereignty, the poor suffer, and they are forced to flee from their home, from their country as refugees, into your homes, and you call them illegal immigrants, and you push them out violently. But it is because of your silence that they have been pushed away from their homes that they love so much. I stand here. I will stay in Zimbabwe, regardless. because I believe in my country and I love it. We need international and diplomatic pressure and solidarity to protect the weak, to protect the poor, and to protect human rights, not only in Zimbabwe, but in all the other countries. I know that international pressure works, because it is this pressure from the UK, from the US, and from the EU, and my fellow Zimbabweans that secured my release on May 7. Fact is, Zimbabwe is not democratizing. The West is yet to come. And as a journalist, I will continue to tell the truth. Because journalism is all I know, and it's all I intend to do. Oppression in one country has consequences in all other countries. It breeds instability and instability to citizens whose country's democracy is working well. It is like COVID. It will spread to everyone. I thank you.
Now, Professor Jeffrey Sachs said U.S. leadership knows nothing about Africa but understands cobalt, diamonds and other natural resources during remarks at the African Union summit in Ethiopia. He stated that the U.S. wants to make a scramble for Africa, yet Africa does not need a scramble and instead needs development.
The United States leadership knows nothing about Africa, but they know about cobalt, they know about diamonds, they know about other natural resources. That's the problem. The U.S. wants to make a scramble for Africa, but Africa doesn't need a scramble, it needs development. And that's why African unity is so important, why Africa's partnership with China is so important, why Africa's partnership with the Arab League is so important. So it's not scrambled by a few existing powers that just see Africa for exploitation. And I'm sad to say it's been a long time that Europe saw Africa for exploitation. It's been a long time that the United States saw Africa for exploitation. Africa needs development. It can achieve it now. It can make rapid growth if it is unified.
Now we are staying with our videos of the week as Ugandan Member of Parliament Luyimbazi Nalukola told Network Media Hub in Windhoek yesterday that democracy in Uganda is in a terrible state. He accused President Yoweri Museveni of sidelining constitutional principles, curbing dissent, and deploying state institutions, including the police and military, against opposition politicians. Nalukola, who was manhandled and injured last year by joint anti-terrorism personnel after being nominated to contest the Kawempe North parliamentary seat, said opposition leaders face brutality, corruption, and systemic marginalization. The Ugandan delegation, led by opposition leader Joe B. Sinyonyi and comprising MPs from the National Unity Platform, Uganda People's Congress, People's Front for Freedom and Democracy, as well as the Forum for Democratic Change, are on a study visit to Namibia's National Assembly. Now, the delegation aims to learn how parliamentary institutions can maintain neutrality, strengthen oversight, and ensure effective opposition participation in a dominant party system. This update is by Network Media Hub journalist Phillipus Josef.
In Uganda, we are in a terrible state as regards democracy, good governance, human rights, principles of natural justice, constitutionalism, among others. General Museveni chose to distance himself from all those principles. When he came to power in 1986, he promised to Ugandans that he would not reign for so long. But now he is reigning for over 4 decades. He's the one man in power. He has applied brutality, abuse of human rights, a persecution of all those who are opposing him. He doesn't want any voice dissenting against his rule. When he organizes elections, he organizes the same with the intention of winning the same. is the one who appoints the Electoral Commission, he appoints the Inspector General of Police, all judges, CDF, the Commander-in-Chief of the Army, among others. And he employs all those state apparatus against his opposers. Now his main opposer is Chagulani Sentamu Bobby Wine, but he has applied brutality, violence against him, even in the course of elections. He has used the brutality even against us, members of parliament. He does not want opposition in parliament. So, corruption everywhere. He has employed members of his family in many government offices, members of armed forces. They are being employed in the police and in several other government departments. Indeed, democracy is in a very terrible state in Uganda. I went for nomination in early last year. In March, I was subjected to brutality. They made violence against me and my supporters and the supporters of NUP. We were subjected to all kind of violence, including tear gas, guns. They deployed JAT, a department within UPDF, Uganda People's Defense Force, which is meant to fight against terrorism, was deployed against us. When we were so peaceful, they attacked us, they attacked the media, journalists were victimized.
We end off in Zimbabwe, where Professor Lovemore Madhuku sharply criticized President Mnangagwa's proposed constitutional amendment Bill number 3 to extend presidential terms to 7 years. Speaking to Citizens Voice Network, he dismissed the justification as complete nonsense, adding, "It's like a student told the exam is 3 hours and then they say, no, I want 5 because I haven't finished." Here's Professor Madhuku with Citizens Voice Network.
4 years. You must do your things within the 4 years. If you are elected and you are there for 5 years, do your things within. If you cannot do your things within the 5 years, that's a sign of incompetence. It's like a student who is in an exam and they are told that this exam is 3 hours. And then they say, no, I want to write in 5 hours because I have not been able to finish. Of course, in exams they fail. If you are in office and you know you are elected for 4 years, you must do your things within the 4 years. If you are elected and you are there for 5 years, do your things within. If you cannot do your things within the 5 years, that's a sign of incompetence. It's like a student who is in an exam and they are told that this exam is 3 hours. And then they say, no, I want to write in 5 hours because I have not been able to finish. Of course, in exams they fail. If you are in office and you know you are elected for 4 years, you must do your things within the 4 years. If you are elected and you are there for 5 years, do your things within. If you cannot do your things within the 5 years, that's a sign of incompetence. It's like a student who is in an exam and they are told that this exam is 3 hours.
That's been Africa Good Morning, not just for Friday, but for the week. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub, as well as NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA and NTV Africa on YouTube. Now, when it's NTV Africa, that Africa is spelled with a K. We believe that's the original way. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on Monday as Mike Suchula is set to give us an update with regards to the Lungu burial case, where the family has been denying making poisoning claims, and of course other stories from Zambia, whilst we give you the top headlines from broader Africa. My name is Ashumberi. Have a fantastic weekend. I know Valentine's Day was last weekend, but you can still spread some love. Suraj Kanaka.